My name is Benton Stokes. I'm a former fundamentalist, post-evangelical worship leader, and songwriter. I enjoy wry Manhattans, roller coasters, and road trips, just not all at the same time.
I'm Elane O'Rourke, and I'm a teacher, an author, and a spiritual coach. I was a philosophy professor and a liberal pastor in a couple of former lives, and these days, I love aha moments and not-so-dry martinis.
We have conversations about life and God with a queer perspective, over cocktails, like you. This is Cocktail Theology. Well, hey, y'all.
Hey there.
This is fun. We've got our friend Ricardo with us.
Hi there.
Father Ricardo Avila, and he is from the St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Los Gatos, California. And he also has a podcast called Popping Collars. And which you can tell us more about that later. But we are going to be talking today about what it is to be queer in ministry. So this should be a lively conversation. But what's going to make it livelier,
I was going to say,
is the Rum Flight that we're going to enjoy today. So we are tasting rums, and we've got the gamut here.
We do have a gamut. So we've got a light one from Puerto Rico. We've got one that is a blend of Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, and Jamaica. We've got one from Trinidad and Tobago, a couple from Barbados, and then one from Guyana, which is highly unusual.
Wow.
Which actually, this one actually has a different story than the rest of them. So
Very cool.
Wow.
Well, see, we kind of got this idea because Elane and I were in Charleston, South Carolina last fall. We went to this restaurant called The Ordinary, and there were two bartenders there who were incredibly helpful and very knowledgeable about rum. And we didn't realize this, but Charleston is like a big rum town. And when you think about the history of rum and how Charleston was sort of the portal of getting rum into the United States from the islands, it kind of makes sense.
well, it was also a big place for slave traders to come in,
Right.
So it was basically that direction is
Yeah.
where the things came from. Yeah.
They know a lot about rum. They like to talk about rum. They like to serve you rum. And so we allowed them to do that with us.
Nice.
And
It was
so
awesome.
You allowed them.
We
Yeah,
did.
we did.
Well, we set up a whole appointment so they could do that with us.
That's right. So big thanks to Dalton Bedard and Ellery Dowler for spending so much time with us. We had
Yes.
such a great time at The Ordinary.
We did.
So tell us, what are we trying first?
So first we are trying the Don Q Cristal, which is from Puerto Rico. It's a good mixing rum, so it's like made for mojitos, things like that. I have not tried it all by itself, so there we go.
Let's go.
It's a silver.
Oh, it's nice. It's very light.
Very light.
Makes your lips tingle.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I think it's better for mixing. I would not just sip this. In fact, I'm going to stop sipping it now.
Yeah.
Here that goes. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's not really a sipping rum. But it does mix well. I've made mojitos with this, and it's good.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. It is good.
So these are flights we're doing, and I'm just picturing crash landing.
Well, we try to avoid the crash landing
We
part.
do try to avoid that part.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Ricardo, give us a little backstory on you, my friend.
Okay. Well, I always like to begin with my parents, who were immigrants from Mexico in the 1950s. And they came to Chicago. Dad worked in a steel factory. Mom raised us 5 kids, and I'm the youngest of 5.
Wow.
And when I was 7, we moved from Chicago to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I grew up, and I call Wisconsin home. Then I went to college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then when I was 27, I moved to San Francisco, where more or less I've lived for the last 32 years.
All right.
Minus 4 years in Long Beach and 1 year in Boston. So there's more.
You tell us more.
Well, now you're an Episcopal priest, but you weren't reared Episcopalian.
Correct. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and specifically kind of Mexican Roman Catholic, if there is such a thing.
Okay.
We literally had the Virgin of Guadalupe on all 4 walls of the living room with a shrine and with candles, and then she was also in the kitchen, and so it was all over, and it was, it was just part of who we were. And so I was raised Roman Catholic, and the church that I remember the most was in Milwaukee on the south side. It used to be German and Polish, and now was more Mexican, Puerto Rican, and still some white folks at the 9 o'clock service. The priests who were there were Jesuits because Marquette University was nearby.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so they came and ministered to us. And as a result, I've loved the Jesuits kind of ever since. So raised Roman Catholic, and when I went to San Francisco at age 27, I thought, well, let me find some community. And I hadn't gone to church at all in college. I think this is not that uncommon, like not even once, except when I went to visit family. So I go to San Francisco. I went to a thing called Dignity, which is LGBTQ Catholics who can't worship in a Catholic church, but we worshiped in a Presbyterian church in San Francisco, and had Catholic clergy from another diocese come over and do the service kind of clandestinely. Oh. I don't understand, but there they were. I don't know.
The painted out windows in the church. Yeah, we got it.
They came in disguise. But I was there for 3 years, and it was good, but after a while, honestly, what happened, I left the Catholic Church for a couple of reasons, and I'll just be open about it.
Sure.
One is the latest child abuse scandal came through, and I was like, I'm tired of this. Actually, I need to back up.
Okay.
I knew I was gay when I was 15 or 16.
Okay.
And I pretty much from that age to age 21 thought I was going to hell, because of Catholic.
Yeah.
And so had that kind of misery, and I was very closeted, and never really dated. Certainly didn't date guys in those years. And so kind of with that cloud hanging over my head, religion and sexuality were always kind of intertwined in my life. And if this is not too racy, my first love, if you will, my first crush was on our Catholic Jesuit priest, Father Bill. And I only realized I was gay when we went on an overnight retreat where Father Bill was kind of leading it. And I just wanted to be next to him all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know why. I was just like a magnet kind of thing. And it took me a week. It was just an overnight. Again, I don't know how much of this I can say.
You can say whatever you want.
I was just drawn to him.
Yeah.
And it happened that in the morning, I went into the boys' room. It was at a school, the overnight.
Yeah.
I went into the boys' room, and there he was, and he had just gone for an early morning run, and he was shaving, and he didn't have his shirt on. And I was just like, something is happening right now. I don't understand.
Of course.
And I just kind of, I seem to recall just staring at him with my mouth open. And he was just like, you might want to get to breakfast now. And I said, okay, and kind of backed away while still looking at him and didn't know what that was. And I went home and promptly got sick for like a whole week. I had like a fever and all this stuff. And I kid you not, during that week, my father at some point said, he's not sick, he's in love. And I thought, what? Oh. And I thought, he's right. So by the end of the week, when I was getting better, I realized it's because I'm gay. And so that's when the whole you're going to hell business started.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of it is intertwined, the sexuality and the religion from the start. Which in a weird way now feels like a blessing. Because I think those two things in my life, I think I can say this, I think it's true, kind of made the other thing more sacred or more real.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, but it took a long time to get there.
Of course.
Because it was like, keep them separate. Don't tell your parents. Don't, let boys see you looking at them. You know what this stuff is like. So all this time, from 15, 16 to 21, I was miserable. So I go, now we're back at Dignity when I'm 27 to age 30. And I see these child abuse scandals coming through, and I'm thinking, these are the people who were kind of telling me more or less that I was going to hell.
Right.
And they're doing this. And I was just pissed.
Right.
And I was, we were kind of banging our heads against a brick wall. Dignity, Catholic Church, let us in, please, I was kind of tired of that kind of begging. Yep. And there were some problems with the group, some internal politics. So I wandered around, found my way to an Episcopal church, which happened to be St. Gregory of Nyssa in San Francisco, which has its own unique style of worship that is totally different. And I didn't know. I said, this is an Episcopal church.
Dancing saints.
Yeah. You dance around the altar. You get up and share after the
I
sermon.
need to hear more about that.
Yeah. So that was good, and that's what I thought an Episcopal church was. So it turns out it wasn't. There's a difference.
So I'm sorry, I need to interrupt. So for our listeners, this would be a little bit like going into kind of a holy roller Pentecostal church and thinking that's what all Christians were like, and then going to like your most straight-laced church and going, wait, what? What are people doing? So kind of that difference. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. And so I was there for a while and then just kind of wandered away from there and found my way to a church in San Francisco, Episcopal, kind of other end of the spectrum in a way, although St. Greg's is kind of really traditional in its own way.
It is.
So Church of the Advent of Christ the King, Anglo-Catholic parish, I walk in, and I just sort of felt at home. You know, they had the whole thing, smells, bells, genuflection, all the vestments, the Virgin Mary Shrine, Magnificat.
Lots of gay people.
Turns out. Yes.
Turns out.
I did start coming out, by the way, at age 21 or 2. It took a couple of years, and I was still in Madison, and everyone was kind of like painful. I need to speak with you. My poor friend Roger, I sat in the library at 1 a.m. with him. We were supposed to be studying. It took me 45 minutes to tell him. He's like, just tell me. So nobody cared. I mean, it turned out fine. So anyway, I went to Church of the Advent, and that was in about 2000, 2001. And in 2004, the rector, who's like the head priest of the Episcopal Church, came to me and said, Ricardo, he's had a British accent, but I will not attempt that. I have to be later on in these flights to try that.
So we're going to return to
come back to
rector
that.
Advent after you've had another drink. Okay, got it.
No, I'll just say that he said to me, I've been waiting for you for a year to come to me. You have a calling to the priesthood and you need to be a priest.
Whoa.
And I said, I laughed. He's a gay man as well. So in the Episcopal Church, I mean, I don't know if your listeners know about this. I mean, it's okay to be gay. I mean, for the most part, not everywhere, even today. I don't really feel like going into that history, but there was a break in 2003 when Gene Robinson was elected bishop, and he was openly gay and partnered. Lots of folks left. So the ones that remained, well, suddenly were even more liberal, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
So the rector says to me, you have a calling. No, I don't. He says, yes, you do. I said, well, why do you think I have a calling to the priesthood? And he said, well, I'd been acolyting, serving at the altar and stuff by then. He said, well, you have a natural reverence at the altar. He said, and you create community. You know, people are drawn to you.
Yeah.
And he said, and the church needs you, which I don't know what that meant, but maybe because I was Latino or under 60 years of age, actually even then under 40.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, that's very flattering, but no thanks. And he said, well, why not? And interestingly, I had the answers ready. Because I've been thinking about my faith and stuff. I said, well, my faith is weak. I don't even know what I believe about God or Jesus or resurrection or any of it. So my faith is weak. That's one. Two, I don't want to spend my time on other people's problems. I've got enough of my own. I know. And then three, I don't want to be poor.
Right.
And so he said, well, it's the Episcopal Church. Your faith is fluid. Don't worry about it so much. And he said, in terms of helping other people, it'll just be part of your job. You know, it'll be what you do. You grow into it. And he was right about those two things. He was.
No, it's the third one that I'm waiting for.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, he said you'll be poor. And that's not true. I mean, I don't know, maybe from his perspective, but if you can find paid full-time work in the Episcopal Church, that's not that common. And you're at a wonderful church like St. Luke's. I make the most money I've ever made in my life. But that wasn't even the reason that I would want to do it or not do it. I was answering phones at a law firm. I had an English major, never figured out what to do with my life, was doing office jobs, which was fine, but I felt unsatisfied. Like, is this all there is?
Yeah.
So I said no. And he said, well, okay, how about if we leave it at this? If God wants you, God will get you. Your only job is to remain open to the possibility.
Oh.
So I was like, sure, hold on. Does God exist even, right? Fine. Deal. So a week or so later, Saturday morning, I'm walking along, neighborhood totally away from the church, shorts and a t-shirt, walking along, bopping along, and the homeless man sitting on the sidewalk looks up and says to me, good morning, Father. You know? I was like, what was that? And there were two other things like that happened, and being the son of a superstitious Catholic Mexican mother, I was like, these are signs. And the other two are more elaborate, but are actually more kind of, whoa, to me anyway.
Yeah.
After all that, I thought, okay, well, if this is what I'm meant to do, then I need to test it out. So I started a ministry at the church. He said, start a ministry and see how it goes. I said, I don't want to be a terrible priest. I want to be a good priest. Start a book club. I start the book club. I said, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to be a priest. Right? Well, it worked like gangbusters. It's a small church, and we had like 17 people show up. And they were so excited, and they read the book, and like, I want to do the next book, and I'll bring soup, I'll bring wine, and I'll make bread. And so it became this, it was a hit, right?
Yeah.
So part of me was pissed, because I kind of...
Your escape route just like went right in, yeah.
Yeah, and part of me was excited, because I was kind of at loose ends. And the other thing we did, we had a walkathon for the diocese, and we weren't getting our team together, and the rector says, well, why don't you try to get a team together? I'm like, okay. So I start getting people together, and they just all signed up. And at the very end, we go and do the walkathon, and for a small church, we got a trophy for the most walkers.
Wow.
So I was like, well, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to be a priest again. So at that point, I just kind of...
You feeling a theme, Benton? If this doesn't work, I'm not going to be a priest.
So that's kind of the story. And so it was, that was me remaining open to the possibility. And so finally, it took me 3 years of figuring it out, 04 to 07. Same 3 years, William, who is my husband now, was at that church, Church of the Advent, made his feelings known. I said, I'm saying no to everything. I don't feel the same way about you, but let's be friends. And then, of course, over time, over those 3 years, we just got closer and closer and closer. He waited, he hung around. And that's kind of what did it. He's like, later he said, well, where was I going to go? So I know.
We do love William.
William is
so dear.
He's the best. And so that happened for the same 3 years that I was discerning whether to go to seminary.
Okay.
So lo and behold, 2007 in August or July, light goes off. It's like, wait, hello? The guy you've been like, and when am I going to find a partner? Has been next to you for 3 years. He had to listen to me do that too. I don't know how he did it. And then I started seminary, and I went to Church Divinity School of the Pacific, which is in Berkeley, which is part of a consortium called the General Theological Union.
Also known as Holy Hill.
Holy Hill, yes. It was holy hell for some.
Okay.
It was hard for me. I was not a disciplined, late papers, incomplete, called into my advisor's office twice a semester. But I got through in 3 years, and I was ordained an Episcopal priest in December of 2010, so it'll be almost 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, William and I got married in 2008, October 18th, coincidentally St. Luke's feast day, and I've worked at 3 St. Luke's churches since then.
Funny.
And so that was before the Prop 8 thing kind of nixed it, or whatever, the vote came in. So we got into that, had a big high church wedding. It was hilarious. All my straight friends were like, this is the most traditional wedding I've ever been to, Yep. We had like Franciscan friars, Anglican, Franciscan, or Episcopal in their habits. We had radical fairies, and these guys, the Billies, they were there, and just a few family members, and seminary friends came. And so it was 2 men in an Episcopal church. And at that time, the bishop said, now you're not calling it a marriage.
That's right.
You're calling it a blessing of a civil union, right? And I was like, yeah.
Sure.
And the cover of the bulletin said the marriage of, right. Because come on, that was almost 17 years ago. Wow. So that's kind of the background, the long background. The only other thing to say is I've never found paid work in the Bay Area, in the Diocese of California, the Episcopal Diocese. So I've had to go elsewhere. I spent a year in Boston. That did not go well because the rector there did not want an assistant. I had been put there by the diocese. William stayed behind, so we were kind of separate for that year. I came back, did some work not for pay at a church in Palo Alto, had a great experience, got a job in Long Beach, south of LA, 3 years and 8 months. That was a turning point. I had a mentor there who was fantastic. Taught me everything he knew. Well, he taught me everything he could. Then after 2 years, he says, I'm going. You should become the interim rector here because they love you and you'll learn a lot. Well, it was a big church, and I had been answering phones at a law firm prior to seminary. I said, I can't do this. And but I did it. It was a crucible. I was so anxious for that 1 year and 8 months. But I did it, and then I was pretty fearless. And so I applied for the job here in Los Gatos because William has stayed up here all that time. He teaches at a great job that he wasn't going to leave. And he's from LA. He's like, I'm not moving back down there.
Right.
But I needed paid work, you know. So ultimately we were apart for like 4 years and 8 months.
Wow.
You know, we saw each other like once a month when I was in Long Beach and like 3 or 4 times when I was in Boston.
Wow.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
But now the church is in Los Gatos, and I've been there almost 8 years, and they're lovely. And it's changed over the 8 years quite a bit, actually, in good ways. And that's it. I mean, there's queer stuff to talk about.
We'll get there.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Is it time for another flight?
All right, so what are we trying?
Our next one is the Plant Array 3 Stars.
Okay.
Which is, it's from 3 different countries, hence the 3 stars.
Okay.
And then they blend it. So it's also a silver, essentially. So unaged.
Nice.
That is so tasty.
It's really good.
It's like you can taste the fact that rum is made of sugar cane from
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah, you really can. It's
It's
way
really-
more complex than the first one.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I agree.
I like the Plant Array.
Not as much tingle on the lips, but a nice kind of opening of the mouth, like a little air thing happens.
That's a great description.
It's really nice.
I like that.
I'm not much of a drinker, so I'm very aware of the effects.
Yes. Well, and that's why we poured very small amounts for everybody to try. The goal was to try, not to drink. Exactly. So.
Yeah, this is nice. Do you rate them as you go, or
No, we just talk about them.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, once in a while I say, oh my goodness, I'm never having that again. Thank you very much. But haven't done that yet tonight. So.
I like this one.
So I also went to seminary on Holy Hill. I did take one class at CDSP at the seminary you went to, but I didn't go to school there. I was on Holy Hill from 1995 to 1998.
Okay.
So I was there just before everything sort of opened up, but I was at one of the seminaries that is way more liberal. And so it was a very different kind of experience, I think. But I did my first, what we called Holy Union, because it was before it was legal, before it could even be called a wedding. Actually, before I graduated from seminary. My friend John Birdsall, whom we've interviewed for this podcast, I united him and his now husband at the time. And when he asked me to do it, my response was, I'm not sure I should. I haven't graduated from seminary. He says, well, it's not legal anyway, so it doesn't matter. I was like, oh, right. Sure, that makes sense. Okay. And I have some great stories about that, but that's the kind of difference in place, if you will, at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, marriage was, it was sort of a thing that we all kind of, or lots of folks rallied behind, marriage equality. And I kind of didn't care.
Right.
But then I did.
Right.
And I remember having an argument with a straight friend of mine who didn't come to our wedding. He was my best friend in high school. And he wrote me this long note about, there's a reason I'm not coming to your wedding. It's against my faith. I talked to my priest, Roman Catholic, and, And the funny thing is his mother and father both yelled at him. They were like, how could you not go? He's your best friend from high school. And sadly, the friendship didn't really mend from that. Not that we were in touch that much, but so yeah, it was still a thing.
Well, and the reality is still a thing, And I came up in the queer community. I was in San Francisco as well, but I started in LA, and I was in LA at a time. Like I keep trying to tell my kid, who's now a teenager, that no matter what her teachers say, the 70s were actually way more liberal than the 80s, like way more liberal than the 80s. And I was coming up really in the 70s, and I was in gay community all the time. And I had known that I was queer, although I wouldn't have called it that, from the time I was, 12 or so. My first person was a girlfriend, and, that kind of thing. So that's always been a part of my identity, and it's never been a problem for me. It's been problematic for others, but it's never been a problem for me, personally. But having grown up in Los Angeles at a time when it was not weird to be gay, at least in the circles I was running in, it was really kind of a surprise to me when I got into places where it was.
Yeah. Sure.
And as a result, we have such different experiences of what it means to be ourselves in whatever place we are. So I really appreciated what you said about your faith and your sexuality being entwined, that they're together in who you are. So for so many folks, they're really torn asunder until they're not, which I think is more like your experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It is more like my experience, which we'll get to in a minute because we need to try our third rum.
We do?
Wow.
Okay,
It's
well,
time.
We're moving fast.
It's
All
time.
right.
We are. We're going to rip through these rums.
Rip roaring rum.
So our third rum is from Trinidad and Tobago. It's called Zaya, and it's pretty much our house rum, I would call it.
We love this rum.
That's right. It's very, well, you'll see. See what you think.
Oh. What is that? Like caramel or something?
It's got a caramel thing going on, right?
What on earth?
Yeah, it's really nice. You'll see later when we get to the more aged rums, it doesn't feel aged in the same way that some do. Like, you'll see a difference. So it's kind of in between, for my palate, it's kind of in between the Plantaray and the aged ones we're going to have in a little while. Zaya's great.
Oh, it's
good
so
price
good.
point, really mixable. Love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Love it.
So do you mix it with other things?
Oh,
then?
yeah.
And the caramel doesn't kind of mess with that, or?
It depends. I mean, you have to be picky.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what you're mixing with.
Yeah, so right now I'm going to mix mine with a tiny bit of this Mai Tai mix that I made.
Oh, I'll take a little bit of that
Okay.
too.
Here we go. That's about right. Would you like to try this?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Straight up.
I tell ya. Who knew? Who knew? I never thought of Father Ricardo as being a straight-up rum drinker, but, now we know.
Right. Uh-oh, I'm starting to giggle more.
There we go. That's right, giggle juice.
The
they
show
call it,
must
yeah.
go on.
That's right. That's right. So we're kind of talking about the difference between Ricardo's experience and perhaps your experience coming up.
Yeah, I came up evangelical, as our listeners know. Certainly being gay in evangelical world is not okay. And honestly, I think I don't think I know. It prolonged my staying in the closet because even though I knew that I was attracted to men, I treated it like it was sin. I treated the attraction like I just don't need to be attracted. Something is wrong with me. So that's the thing I have to keep praying about and asking God to help me with. And so years of that. And it wasn't really, I got married, we had kids, I had a family, and it wasn't until really my mid-30s that I started to really deal with my sexuality. But I did. And of course, hell broke loose. To God's glory and credit, I came out of it with a good relationship with my kids, better than I had before, and a more honest relationship with God and with my faith. Because it was all built on the premise that God was mad at me most of the time. When you finally stop believing that God is mad at you all the time, it frees you up to trust God in new ways, to notice God in new ways, and to not feel self-condemned all the time.
Yeah.
That was definitely something that that I had to work through then after my divorce. I came on staff at an affirming evangelical church, really.
Definitely.
The theology was very conservative, but their presence in the community was very liberal. So it was a place where queer people could come and feel welcome, but the sermon was built on the same kinds of ideas and ideology and theology that I had grown up with.
Yeah.
So that became frustrating after a while. But it did teach me how to express myself and my faith in music in new ways. I had been a songwriter in the Christian music world for a long time before that. Coming out sort of also put the kibosh on that, because it was like, if I'm going to authentically be myself, then I can't really stay in what I'm doing. And some other factors had kind of helped me make that decision. So I learned how to be a worship leader, and I came to understand expressing myself through my music differently. And I started writing songs and recording songs myself, kind of through this time. And so everything just opened up wide for me when I could finally understand that I could be queer and also minister and also share my story. I could also write songs that were true to my experience, and that there was a huge audience for that. And authenticity matters, and I think that was sort of the tipping point for me, was deciding, I've been a fraud long enough, and at some point I remember sitting in the driveway in my car just thinking, I wonder if God is more upset with me about being gay or the fact that I'm lying about being gay.
Right.
And I think that was sort of a tipping point for me. I was like, wait a minute. God doesn't want me lying about who I am. God doesn't want me lying about anything, So my experience with being queer in ministry happened later in life, kind of like you guys, in a way. But for me, I did try to go down the road to becoming a minister.
Pastor
out
type.
of high school, I went to a small Nazarene college, and I went in as a religion major. And I remember going to my first theology class that was designed for religion majors. It was like mostly freshmen. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking to myself very clearly, if I'm going to have to be like the rest of these assholes, I'm going to choose right now a different road, because that is not who I want to be. And so I did. I went. There's music, and then I laid out for a year and worked in a record store. Went back to a different school, got a business degree, and it was all. I think it would have been such a disaster if I had stayed.
Oh my gosh.
Going down that road, it was just. It was like God was clearly like with a megaphone in my ear. You need to get out of here right now, and I had no idea. Yeah. I just had no idea.
What really strikes me about your story as you're telling it today in the context of what Ricardo was saying is when you were writing for Christian music industry, you weren't doing ministry.
No.
You didn't really start ministering to people either in personal life or in official life until after you had to deal with your own sexuality.
That's right.
And I think that's a really important thing for our listeners to understand.
Yeah.
The best ministry, paid or unpaid, happens if you are actually in yourself and connected with God in yourself, whatever that means. Otherwise, you're faking it till you make it at best. Mm-hmm. And at worst, you're a fraud. Mm-hmm. Right? I think a lot of times folks who come from the backgrounds most of our listeners do, it feels like this huge division between who you really are and doing the work of God.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't really do the work of God until you're who you are.
I completely 100% agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which I had not thought about until just this moment.
Yeah.
Okay, my work here is done. I can just drink rum and you all can keep talking.
All right, let's have another one.
All right.
What do we got?
All right. So this is one of the cutest little bottles ever. It looks like one of those bottles that falls off a pirate ship.
It's really cute.
It's called Bamboo, and it's from Barbados. Bamboo from Barbados.
Nice.
At this point, we really changed styles. So try it, see what you think.
Oh.
Yeah, that's really different.
Totally different. And if you smell it,
What is it?
it's got kind of a banana thing going on, right? But we're starting to get aged in different ways than what we've seen before. And so this is a really transitional one between the ones we're having in a minute and the ones we've been having.
Once you said it was banana, I realized that's exactly what it is. And I've been thinking about banana splits lately. So
Oh, well, there you are.
pour some of this over.
There you go. Just pour it over your ice cream. You're good to go. Yeah.
Just go walk into the ice cream parlor.
But this is really lovely.
It's very nice.
You know what? This would be really good with orgeat, with an orgeat based
Oh, it
thing.
would.
That would be excellent. So I'm not gonna mix it with this particular Mai Tai mix, but I think something orgeat based could be really nice with this.
Okay.
Okay.
I like
Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind.
That was very nice. Thank you.
All right, Ricardo.
So, something that you were talking about, Benton, really struck me, and I wanted to follow up on it with some things of my own. And the word authenticity, it's so... when people tell me about my sermons, the word I hear the most is, you're so authentic, or as my presence. You're so authentic. And all I can think is, well, how can I not be? And the thing is, there are all kinds of ways to not be, right? I mean, there was something in you and something in me at different points in our lives that made us realize we can't not be who we are and do ministry in God's church.
Exactly.
And there are plenty of people who don't have whatever that was, and they go in and they're, they've secreted their true selves away. And I just find that tragic and, dangerous in some ways.
Hugely dangerous, honestly.
Yeah.
Going back to the abuse that you were talking about before, so just to be really, really clear, priests who seduce or rape their parishioners don't do it because they're gay. They do it because they're power mongers. So let's just be really clear about that.
Yeah.
If you don't grapple with whatever it is that makes you want to have power over people, and I don't care what position you're in, you will be authentically an a-hole and inauthentically whatever it is you're trying to be, right? So I think that that's the piece of this, is that sense of you cannot, I truly believe you cannot go into the ministry, you can't go into anything where you're really dealing with the tenderest parts of humanity without coming to who you are, being honest about it, working on the things that are not pleasant about that, embracing the things that are, and continuing to move on, because you will damage people. And that's the challenge, right? Whether it's power, or whether it's being something that you don't think you should be, whatever it is. I mean, I've had more trouble being female in the ministry than I have being queer in the ministry, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that thing is, you've got to actually come to grips with it in order to be with people in a way that matters for them, and not just for your own ego or for your own building of whatever you think you're supposed to build.
Yeah, that's so important, yeah.
Wow. So I have a story,
Okay.
if I may, that
No, stop. No stories. We don't tell stories. Never stories on this podcast.
I knew that about you too.
That's right. Only intellectual stimulation on this
That's
podcast.
right.
Have another drink. Okay, go ahead.
Only theories.
Only theories, yeah.
So interestingly, I say the religion and the sexuality were all intertwined. Not by my choice. It's just what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, to me, interestingly, it never occurred to me to just walk away from the church. I didn't go to church at all in my 9 years in college and afterwards in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't know why. I just didn't. But it's one of the first things I sought out when I was looking for a community in San Francisco. And here I am.
Right.
But the story...
God giggling. God's going...
I know, just you wait. So the story I want to tell, I was in seminary, and there's something called the J term, January term between semesters, and I went down to what was called the Seminary of the Southwest, an Episcopal seminary in Austin, Texas, to do a 3-week program. I guess it was satisfying like a multicultural thing. And I know.
Like you're being in an Episcopal seminary didn't automatically satisfy the multiple... I'm sorry.
I actually did make that joke with my advisor. Well, I'm Mexican. Does that count? Do I have to go?
At CDSP? Yes, it did. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it turned out to be a great experience. So I go down there. It's 3 weeks. I made all these new friends down there who were in seminary, and so I took this class with them, and part of it involved going to Mexico to a city called Piedras Negras, which means black rocks. There was I think, Anglican church there with a priest, Padre Miguel, and he was wonderful, and his wife was wonderful. She was a priest as well, I believe. They had this connection where the J-term class would go down there and do ministry with them to the poor. We served food on these train tracks. It was super, really poor people, and really a wonderful experience. And I thought, so my separation was the Latino from the gay.
Yes.
Wow,
Okay.
sure.
So you were talking about being a woman, and that was harder than being queer
Right.
in ministry. There's so much I could say about that, but I'm just going to tell you this story. So I thought, I'm going down to Mexico. The people I knew in Austin knew I was gay, but I'm going to lie low about that. Right. I'm not going to say anything. Right. So very first night, Padre Miguel, sweetheart, we're going in a van to visit this family that is sort of an informal way station for people coming up from Guatemala and et cetera who are trying to get into the U.S. And so they know just from word of mouth that this place will give them a meal and let them sleep in the backyard kind of thing. So we go there and we bring some food. This was in 2007 or 8. Okay. We're driving there, and Father Miguel starts asking me all these questions. He's like, well, do you have a wife? And I said, no. And it's like, here we go, It's like, oh, okay, well, do you have a girlfriend? And I said, no. And, oh, do you think, are you going to have children? Or I'm just like, oh, why is he doing this,
Please just stop.
And then I don't know if he said it or I said it, but I'm going to go with me. I'm going to say, you know what? I think I said, to myself, if I'm going to be here for 3 days, he's asking questions. I don't want to be dishonest. I said, Padre Miguel, soy gay. I'm gay. And he said, I know. And we were in a van with like some of the other students, right? And they knew I was sort of trying to be closeted. And so they're like, we're all holding our breath. And he's like, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? And the air's getting, And so he says, I know. I said, well, then why were you asking me all those questions? He said, because I wanted you to tell me.
Exactly.
And I said, okay. And then later on we talked. And he took me aside, and I'll never forget it. He said, listen, there are going to be people who are going to be sitting in pews in churches where you're going to serve in the future, and they're going to need to know that you are who you are, because they're going to be desperate to hear that they're lovable.
Yes.
That God loves them.
Yes.
And he said, I have people in my church. He had a lesbian couple who were just like ostracized from their family, by their families. He said, you need to be your full self up there because you are a leader.
Yep.
And this is one way you will lead, and people will be inspired and their faith will be affirmed, and they will not feel like they are hated by God. Yep. And I was crying and crying because talk about a healing thing. I thought I have to keep these two things about my identity separate.
Right.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And that feeling, like suddenly you're like 40 pounds lighter, and I was just smiling the whole time I was there. I was dancing. I wasn't shut down and tight. And it wasn't that bad, but there was something, internal that was like squeezing, and it was let loose. And he was just beautiful. So now I'm on Facebook, right? These days I'm on Facebook, pluses and minuses. But one of the pluses is I've become Facebook friends with all my relatives in Mexico because all my mom's side stayed down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
On my dad's side came to the U.S. And so they, friend requests, and so there's William in all my photos, and here's it's our anniversary, and it was just a nice, easy way to come out to all the Mexican, still in Mexico side of the family, and not all of them, but a good number of them are like, oh, congratulations and happy anniversary and all these things, and the ones that don't agree with it are just quiet, or they're, I have evangelical cousins, and they'll still interact with me, but and it's fine, but boy, it's just life is too short.
Yes.
And if you're a leader, you can't not be who you are, because like you were saying, Elane, how can you show up for someone who needs authenticity because they're struggling if you can't be authentic?
That's exactly right.
I think for me the hardest part about ministry per se and sexuality, there were two things. One is I went to seminary because school is really easy for me, and I wanted to know more about God, and that seemed like the way to do it. So, but I was doing a lot of social justice work, that kind of thing. And so I went to seminary assuming I would do that. I had no desire to go into the pastorate, but I went in through the Methodist Church, United Methodist Church. And the United Methodist Church, has had its own turmoil. So just leave it at that. But as a result, when I went to seminary, I didn't know how much of my very liberal seminary and my not so liberal church actually talked to each other. Like I didn't know how that worked, right? So there was that whole thing of coming in the Methodist system. Do I want to be able to get to the other side of ordination so I have some stability and some safety? And from my perspective, it was like, I don't care. But people who were already in the Methodist system really wanted me to get to the other side so I'd be ordained and safe, and then could say pretty much whatever I wanted.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not the kind of person who talks about my life anyway. Like, that's not who I am. I've really had to work to talk about my life from the pulpit. Like, oh God, people want to hear. Okay. So that challenge was tricky because I was living my life. I was with someone who, at least when we first met, were part of the same gender, of the same sex. I would talk about leather with people at seminary, that kind of stuff. And then when it was in the ordination process, it was like, so I don't need to talk about any of this because I don't care whether you care, right? But then there was also this weirdness of, okay, so I know there are people who care that I get through this so that I can talk authentically to other people.
Right.
So there was that challenge. And then the other challenge, again, coming out of this was, for many years I was married to somebody who was transgender, who was of a time and a space and a person who did not want to be seen as ambiguous or anything, right? Who really had moved from being female-bodied, female-presenting, female-behaving to men's world, like really lived in men's world. So for me to talk about who I was, if I was going to, which I didn't tend to do anyway, would be to betray that.
Yeah, I can see that,
Right?
sure. Mm-hmm.
So that was challenging. But I think that the fact of who I was came out, because I wasn't afraid of the fact of who I was, came out in everything I did, which meant that if I was talking to somebody who was queer, they knew. And I could say to them, look, I totally understand what you're talking about. It doesn't look like, trust me, it doesn't look like it, but I understand what you're talking about. And they knew it was true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's try another rum.
That's kind of what I thought you were going to go for. All right, so this one is actually one of the ones we tried in Charleston.
Okay, awesome.
So this is, I always have to look at it because I always want to add an extra S. So this is R.L. Seals, and this is Barbados as well.
Oh, that's good.
But totally different, right? So this is aged in oak barrels that have been other places, right? So it's got that kind of bourbon-y.
I was going to say, this is one of the ones that really reminded us of bourbon.
That's right.
You could make a really great, Manhattan or Old Fashioned.
That's right.
With this.
That's right. And it's because it's aged in those barrels.
Yeah, we're back to the lip tingle.
Yes.
The caramel and banana didn't have the lip tingle.
No. Because it's more like bourbon. It's more like something's been aged in wood. Then it loses some of that. Oh, people! I so wish we had a camera. I wish you could see his face. But it loses some of that fruit character and gains more the oak, more the wood.
It definitely
does. That kind of thing. Anyway, so
I have a question. So you like talking about the drink stuff, right? You're
We
sort
do.
of connoisseurs of it, and you really. It's a nice, I don't know what to call it, a hobby or a vocation.
it's definitely not a vocation. But I would say
No, we're home mixologists, but we have a lot of fun with it.
we do, and it's something we share. I think that's part of it. It's part of our relationship that we can talk about the flavors and stuff like that, and it's fun.
And we have a pretty regular happy hour in our house. So
Yeah.
I've been.
as you know,
As you know.
Yeah, I got to say, Elane, I don't know, maybe you do mixes as well, but I've had Benton's famous something a couple of times.
but I don't know what it was.
It was so good.
He has some famous, quite a few things actually.
Really?
Yes, he does.
This one is like you didn't taste the liquor, but boy was it there. You know?
That would be many of Benton's.
That would be many of them.
That's right. That's right.
That's great.
Right.
Oh, very nice.
Okay, so let's continue on the whole being LGBTQ, etc., or queer, or however you describe yourself in ministry. Where do you think that at this point in your life it benefits the world or you or both to be solidly who you are and expressing who you are? I mean, there's so many places. I know where I would say, but I want to hear what you would say.
It's everything. I mean, I think when you talk about how your faith and sexuality are intertwined, I absolutely experience it that way at this point in my life. Being as honestly me as I can be is just like this incredibly weight lifts off me, and it's just like I don't want to say there's no expectation, but I really try to limit the restrictions and the boundaries on myself, expressing myself, whether it's in writing a song or whether it's in leading worship. I really try to be as open as I can be to, number one, the Holy Spirit, number two, just to the spirit of creativity, number three, to just really be as transparent and available as I can be when I'm leading worship or when I'm having a conversation, whether it's, at the coffee shop or with a friend or it's just so vitally important. Like I'm about to attend a songwriting retreat in a couple of months, and I'm already sort of revving up for it because I know that there's going to be a lot of evangelical people there. And while there are going to be people there who know me and know that I'm gay, there are also going to be people there that I'm going to need to sort of not be completely open with. And that's not something I feel incredibly great about. And as I've prayed about it and as I've lived with the idea, you know, I have friends that seem to balance those two worlds fine. I couldn't do it the way they do.
Right.
But I also know there's value in the work. And like, it's important to be a more balanced voice in that world.
Yes.
Otherwise, you know, they're all they're getting is just like really fundamentalist ideology thrown at them all the time. And what I bring is going to be more open. It's going to present God as more loving. It's going to be more hopeful. And I know that I need to continue to do that. And I've wrestled with this for a long time. How do I continue to be a part of that community? And it is a community, and there are other benefits for me hanging out with other songwriters that do Christian music, whatever that means.
100%.
I miss that. Like, I miss that community. And so over this year, I've really made an effort to reconnect with some of these people. And most of them know that I'm gay. And it's not a problem and it's not an issue.
Right.
Even for my more conservative evangelical friends in that world, it just hasn't been an issue, and that's been great. But I don't think I could possibly be who I am in ministry or in the world if I were still in any way closeted. And I'm not somebody that waves pride flags all the time, and I'm not somebody that broadcasts my sexuality all the time. I don't feel the need to do that. But also because we're in California, we're in one of the most liberal cities in the country, it's very easy for me to just be myself, and it's never an issue. I can say, my boyfriend and I this and whatever, and nobody bats an eye, and that's great. But when I go back to Nashville, it's a little different. Right. So it is a difficult line that we tread, right? Because it's like who's in the pews, or who's in the audience, or who's tuning in. And I'm cognizant of that, and yet I also understand the perils of not fully being myself when in front of those people. So when you say so much of the importance of your ministry is being yourself, fully and wholly yourself, when you're behind the pulpit, when you're having conversations with people, when you're counseling. And I feel that way too. And sometimes I wrestle with how to do that, but I feel it deeply. And even when I'm wrestling with it, is absolutely something that's so important to me. With the podcast and with everything else we do.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about there's a church that you serve once a month that assumed that your guy was my husband.
Right. Right.
And I think there is a truth that none of us is a radical fairy. None of us presents in a way that requires other people to stop and think for a minute.
Right.
I have sometimes felt that I am somehow betraying, big scare quotes, the queer community, whatever that means. I mean, there is no queer community. Can we just all be...
Right.
The word community is so misused, I can't even tell you. But this idea of queer people everywhere, because, you know, each one of us is supposed to represent that
Right.
group of people, like every black person represents the entire black population.
Right.
Anyway, but I think there is something about that, about the fact that our presence in the world doesn't defy people's expectations of the things we do in the world.
Yes.
That is challenging, and I do want to lift up that some of my closest connections could not present in a room of people any other way than queer.
Right.
And that's a very different set of challenges than what we're talking about. And I really want to lift that up. Now, that's different potentially than what's going on inside you with your relationship with God, with your relationship with other people you minister to, but it is a reality.
You're right.
Right? And I don't want to lose sight of that for better, worse, whatever that is, it's different than if you're non-binary and you aren't enjoying the fact of that publicly, but is instead a different kind of being in the world than any of us experiences. I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that it's a different place to be than any of us experiences.
Right.
So
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a lot I want to say about that.
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get.
We're gonna do the last rum.
All right.
So this is rum number 6. What are we trying?
So this is the El Dorado, aged 12 years. Now the El Dorado's from Guyana, which is a big left turn from where we just were. And the thing that I need to say to our listeners is when we first started doing this podcast, we went to a cocktail festival essentially in Nashville, and we had a booth there, and we were interviewing people and having it was
So much fun.
Seriously, go back to our first season. It's really fun to listen
Yeah,
to.
it is fun to listen to.
But anyway, we met the guy who makes this stuff
Yes, we
then.
did.
And tried his rums there and loved them. And it was my first real introduction to rum that wasn't, the stuff that you mix into Coke, right?
Right.
So this is the El Dorado 12. The El Dorado 15 is spectacular,
is.
but I think you'll get a different sense of what rum can be from this.
It smells really good.
Wow.
It's made out of Demerara, so it's just got a different texture to it. But you can taste the molasses in it. You can taste kind of the depth of this. Like it is, if you took the darkest brown sugar, if you took piloncillo and you turn it into rum, right? And really cooked, like it would be this. So our friend Ricardo, not a big fan of the Guyanese rum.
No, that's not true.
No, it's okay. I'm just kidding. It's really okay. But totally different character, right?
It kind of takes the breath out of your mouth. To me, that's why I'm coughing. It's sort of like it kind of sucks the air out of me.
Well, and I just poured in the glass too, so the esters and the alcohol has not faded away at all. So
it's good.
it's got smooth.
Yeah. Can I say though? I mean, this. I don't know. Maybe it's just from you talking about it, but this just feels. There's something like. This is like a nobler rum, or it's like so elegant about it.
It's just different. It's just a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Which is a perfect transition. We're talking about a different kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I have like 3 stories and then a comment, and so I don't know where to go, but okay. I was just last week at a clergy conference. It's called Credo, and it's put on by the Church Pension Group of the Episcopal Church, and it's about clergy wellness. It was wonderful. And there were 36 of us, including 9 faculty and 27 clergy. And we spent the whole week together in Maryland at a retreat center. Very nice. And 2 things I will say. One is, it was so... everyone was like, oh, my husband, oh, my wife. And it was just like, it just fell off the tongue. And it's not the first time I felt this way, but, this is the national church. There were people there from North Carolina, Mississippi, New Jersey, and it was just a part of the regular discourse.
Right.
My husband, my wife, my this, my that.
So different.
I would say 9 out of the 36 of us, because I kind of counted in my head, were queer in some way, including a woman, I believe, who serves in Mississippi.
Wow.
And it's kind of a, I don't know that it's a thing for her, but she was just like fabulous. She was like proud and loud and hilarious and full of life. And I can't imagine her being otherwise when she's at the church where she is. So they must know. And so I just found that was kind of glorious. It was more than kind of. And I thought, it's not as big a deal. There'll be a however later. But the other story that I want to tell from the conference is African-American priest, gay man, came up to me and said, he said, so how does it feel to be Latino here? Because it's mostly white, so how do you feel? And I said, well, honestly, I'm pretty assimilated. And so it's not that different for me. And I know it's the Episcopal Church, and the Episcopal Church is largely white. Right. It's just a fact. We can be as, welcoming and everything as we want to be and welcome diversity, but there's something about who we are, and
It
I don't
comes
know.
from the Church of England. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's structures and language and framing that is very specifically Anglo,
Right. And so I said, so I'm maybe not the best person to ask because I'm an assimilated Latino and I have no problem being in this setting and I pretty much assimilated all my life. And then I thought, well, what does that mean? So I'm a bad Latino? Didn't answer the questions he wanted. And I think he really wanted to know, like, what's it like to be in this room? And I know some clergy who are, Colombian and they do struggle or they have an accent or they have trouble understanding because English is not their first language. And so I know that exists. And I told them so. I said, that just does not happen to be me.
Right.
Similarly, I'm pretty straight acting and appearing. I mean, at least I think I am. When I preach or when in the church where I am, I bring up my husband all the time, but I just say William. And at this point, everybody knows William. I don't have to say my husband William or my gay husband William.
Right.
I am gay and my gay husband William. Right?
Which just makes sermons so darn long.
I know.
In my experience, by the time you put all the qualifiers in, it's like, okay, are we done now?
I know. So it's just
and
William.
thank you from those of us in the pews. Thank you. For
Yeah, the first time you mentioned William, I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
And all you had to say was William. That was it.
That's right.
Yeah, and the thing is, it was just incidental. I mean, it's hard to explain, but so what Padre Miguel told me in Piedras Negras was people need you to stand up there and be who you are so that they can be who they are.
Right.
And that is true.
Yes.
But also, who I am is just who I am. And I'm tired of, and I've done this in different ways. It's in some ways it's easier to be gay for me, it's easier to be gay in a Christian community than it is to be Christian in the gay community.
Oh, 1,000%. That is my story.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that.
Oh, so yeah, right. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah,
so
I lost everybody when I went to seminary. I lost everybody, my entire social circle, all of it. Yeah,
and,
I hear you.
And a little bit, I want to lift the middle finger to them. It's like, don't run around talking about equality if you're not going to let me be who I am.
Exactly.
And so that's back to your thing. Benton, you get to decide to whom you are open and to whom you are not. And no frickin' shame. Because, you might feel a need to protect yourself. You don't even have to explain it.
That's right.
And I'm just tired of being told, well, you should have done it this way.
You need to be the model whatever. The model XYZ, right? And I think about, I don't know your personal life well enough to talk about your personal life, but I think about the fact that neither you nor I tell stories about our personal lives on any level. We don't talk about the fruit in the backyard. You know what I mean? It's like
Who?
It's like stop it. That's our neighbor Fred. Stop it. Matilda's been in the closet for years with us. Anyway, but I mean, the fact is neither one of us is much of a talker about our personal lives in any way.
Right.
Right. So the idea that we don't go and talk about our romantic relationships, our sexual relationships, whatever that is, that's in line with every single thing. It's not like I talk about everything fluidly about it. You could know the contents of my refrigerator in a conversation, but I'm not talking about, you know what I mean? And so that general kind of shame-free privacy protecting it's like, get a grip, people.
Yes.
We're not all extrovert, tell everything we know.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fine now.
Yeah. I definitely say more personal stuff than what you're describing, I think, in sermons. But I've become part of the community, and I've been there 8 years.
Well,
You're an extrovert.
You're an extrovert, and that is so your style too.
That's right. And it makes you a wonderful pastor.
It makes you a wonderful pastor, and it makes you a great sermonizer. I mean, you tell stories.
Really wonderful.
It's really compelling.
Yeah, and for those of us who became pastors and are terrific at running institutions and have prophecy and have preaching, but are horrible pastors, I salute you. Well done, sir. Because I am not a pastor. Not my calling.
Yeah, but I don't know, Elane. You've got a presence.
I do, but it's not pastoral. It's not pastoral.
Okay.
It's different.
You're a loving person.
Sure.
I've experienced you
One
as.
at a time.
One at a
One at
time.
a time. I can
Fair
only do
enough.
the one at a time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Can I say the other things?
Please.
Oh God, there's
must.
so much. There's only 3 more.
Okay.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, one is quicker. So when I got the job in Long Beach, and I was going down there, so they have a Spanish service as well. And the rector, the one that turned out to be a fabulous mentor, and I still have mixed feelings about this. He got the Spanish group together. He doesn't speak Spanish, so there's a translator. He let them know, we've hired an associate priest, and he is gay.
Oh.
And you need to know that, because when he comes, that's who he is. And he's not going to hide it.
Oh, no.
So this and that.
I
And
can see
people are
doing
like,
that.
yeah.
I kind of see doing that.
The
Okay,
thing is, I
get it.
love the guy.
Right. Okay.
So part of me was, he didn't tell me he was going to do it.
Right. Okay. Well, that's
Apparently a few
not as
people
good.
didn't come. They're like, okay, well, I'm leaving in the Spanish community, Spanish-speaking
Right.
community. And then others are like, well, come on. And they were like, oh, just come. And a few came for a while, but then they left. And, there were kids in that family, and they were great, but they all had to go. I got along great with the kids, but the grandmother said no, right?
Right.
So it was sad. But part of me wishes I had been allowed to just come and be who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And then let them decide based on
Yes.
getting to know me,
Right.
as opposed to this is an identity that is coming your way,
Right.
as
Yeah,
opposed to
that's
here
really
comes a
not
person.
fair to you. I think you should have been able to share that on your own terms.
But imagine though. Okay. I'm sorry.
He was
I
trying to be
agree.
protective.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I can imagine him being protective of both people, and I can imagine him also thinking, this is going to be risky for people, and I'm hoping they'll step up.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the problem with leading a community, right? Is you have no
You don't know.
and so in some ways, his being authentically himself, and the people who could not deal with it, freaking left,
Yeah.
and
And it didn't cause you any problems, at least.
Yeah, not really. They didn't confront me about it or anything.
well,
no.
of course,
Yeah.
because why would they?
Yeah.
That's a whole different issue.
Yeah. So interestingly, so then I apply for the job that I have now, and again, it's like, for me, the whole wrestling with my identity and who do I tell or whatever, I was done with it. I used to, even in seminary,
No.
because, I was the reluctant, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. So ultimately I said, for various reasons, not just being queer, but mostly around kind of my own kind of, am I good enough or whatever? I said, okay, God, if it is me you are calling, then it is me you are getting.
Oh, I
And-
love
Oh,
that.
I like that.
That was my mantra for 3 years of seminary, when I was screwing up and turning in late papers, didn't get the reading done, and didn't know what was going on. I still don't know theology. And and yet I would say I am in the right vocation. And I
Yes.
would never have found it.
100%.
Would
Right.
never disagree with you. I
Right.
think you are a tremendous pastor, and a great representative of the holiness of God in the place you've been called to. And to echo someone earlier in your past, you bring a reverence and a love to the sacrament, which is the center of the historical faiths, which we talk about a lot. Your sermons are wonderful, but setting the sermon aside, that's not the reason that the church exists. The church exists for the sacrament. And you bring that sense of reverence and wholeness and honesty to the sacrament in a way that it increases the sacramental reality of the body and blood of Christ rather than decreasing it. So you found your place, and I'm so grateful that whoever told you it was a good idea wasn't an idiot, and you went ahead and fought against God, actually very biblically fought against God, and God said, you can just suck this up because you're going to be doing this. Thank you, son.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm grateful personally.
I'm grateful too.
So glad. I only have 2 more stories to tell.
Okay.
So related to what I was saying, so I applied to the job that I have now, and I'm all open and all that, and they hired me. So here's a gay Latino son of immigrants, married, at a church. It was liberal. I mean, I guess they wouldn't have hired me if they were too conservative. I'll cut to the chase. The point I want to make is, again, I am who I am, and I say who I am, and I have from the start. and people can deal as they will. But I think what I forget is that actually it is a big deal to some people.
Yes, it is.
And not always in a bad way, not even in a bad way. It means something to them that that they have a Latino or a gay priest.
Yes.
I just had someone come. I was gone this last Sunday. She came to the church. Everyone was really nice to her. Turns out her husband had died in February and she's still mourning. I said, well, how did you find us? Because she found me in the courtyard of the church and wanted to talk. How did you even find us? She said, I looked on your website, and Frank, it was the priests' bios. There was so much inclusivity. And she said, I was raised Catholic, and I'm tired of all the guilt. And I didn't want to do that. But she felt a need to find some community. And so she read about me and William. She read about the other priests. And so she came and she said, I felt zero guilt in that church. I wasn't there on Sunday. And so she came to see me, and she wants to, be more involved. So it matters to people that we are who we are still. I'm like, the gay thing's done. We got that, put that away now.
No.
It's not for some people.
Right.
And even in liberal places or whatever,
That's right.
it still means something. And so I don't want to lose sight of the fact that although it's like, well, I am who I am, it also is... It is a persona that still, like Father Miguel said, people need to see.
People need to see. And people need to see a reality they can relate to, but that also says, okay, the world is bigger than the world I'm in right now.
Yep.
Right. And so, and it surprises me. I just assume everyone's thinking like I'm thinking, you know, and they're not, turns out. And then, and it's not like all like, they're all conservative and whatever. It's just that they're still, it's a special thing for them.
Yep.
So the last story. So I say I pass as straight or whatever it is you want to say. And you were talking about folks who are non-binary or trans and for whom that's not an option.
Right.
There are some clergy that I know in our diocese for whom that's true. And they struggle with trying to say, please call me they or them. Or, and they have to keep saying it. And it's just like, I feel bad for them because it's a battle that It's a very different. I don't have to fight. I get to be who I am. So while I can say, I think you were making this point, I can say, well, here's who I am. And that's just who I am. And I don't get a lot of pushback. They do. Yep. And when William and I got married, we were at Church of the Advent, and there was a young man going there. He was like 18 or 19 years old. And he was so sweet. He was an acolyte at our wedding and all this stuff, right? So I've known him since then. He started coming to St. Luke's in Los Gatos because he lived close enough. And he was trans. I don't know how to do the language of it, but born biologically female, but felt like he was a guy and kind of presented as kind of a boyish guy. But he just struggled with all kinds of stuff with drugs and depression and, voices and stuff. And he would be institutionalized and I would go visit him. It's just over years. And it was so tragic because he was just the sweetest, kindest, earnest, faith-filled person. One of the most faith-filled people. We'd have talks about religion. And I never knew what the answer was that he was asking. But somehow I always said a thing that he needed to hear. And so he died. He was 36. And I think it was an accidental drug overdose. And so we had his memorial service at St. Luke's. And he was in like Narcotics Anonymous or something. So there were people from all kinds. There were people from our church. There were people from his support group. There was his family who had been with him through his parents throughout this whole thing and all struggled. And his father gave this powerful eulogy. And so I got up and I gave a homily and I talked about what a beautiful person he was. And I ended with, I said, I this may seem a little goofy, but this song came to me. And I just want to sing it to you, and you probably know it. And it's True Colors by Cyndi Lauper. And I just like, the lyrics are they fit this fellow. And, you with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. And if this world makes you crazy, I see your true colors. And I just think it's so hard still for some people to just show their true colors and be accepted and loved. And I want to lift that up or whatever it is, just to say that is still so hard. And if someone like me can be open and have it be easy, then maybe my responsibility or my call is to insist on, let's widen this because true colors come in all hues. And so Reese was his name. He gave me that example, even though he just, he struggled.
Yeah.
And whenever that song comes on, because it's on a mix that I have, I kind of sing it for him, Yeah. So let's remember that the work isn't done, in ourselves, but also just like we also stand alongside people who might need to know that they're not alone.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Tell
us about your podcast.
Thank you. It's called Popping Collars.
Love that.
And so Popping Collars, I know it's the tagline is the intersection of religion and pop culture. And so 3 of the 4 of us co-hosts who are like the central kind of group, well, all 4 of us went to seminary together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great.
3 out of the 4 are ordained priests. And then the other guy does youth ministry and adult ministry in churches. And so he's the kind of main guy. And we've been going on for over 10 years, going on 11.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we're the longest running Episcopal podcast in the universe. in the universe.
The Episcopal.
In history.
The Episcopers. Yeah, I was going to say, Elon was just saying to me that there's one on Mars that's been going on many Martian years. So don't get too uppity here.
But they're not Episcopalians.
But they're not.
I think you're
so.
right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's pretty safe to say that that's a true thing.
Okay.
But we talk about all kinds of things. The next episode we pretend to time travel. Where would you want to go and live based on the pop culture of that time?
I love that.
And so I was on sabbatical earlier this year, and one of the places I went to was Manchester in England and I took the music tour. I took the music tour, and it was all about the 80s with like Joy Division and New Order and the Smiths.
Yes.
And then later on, like Happy Mondays and Stone Roses. But like the Smiths are my
spirit animal
band. And so I talked about that. We have different topics and different ways to talk about pop culture. Religion does come into it. It's actually more about pop culture.
Yeah.
But often we infuse it with, faith questions and such. So it's so much fun. And the other 3 co-hosts are just wonderful. It's just an excuse to get together on Zoom and chat.
I love that.
So
that's
listen
great.
to it. It's at poppingcollarspodcast.com is the website.
Is it other places or just on the website?
No, you can find us on, I don't know what they all are, but like the Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Stitcher.
Okay. So all the places you normally get your podcasts, wherever you listen to us, you can listen to Popping Collars.
There you go.
Exactly. Please
Love
do.
it.
Please listen. Guys, this has been so much fun.
Yeah.
Ricardo, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Anytime. So, what do we think of the rums? Everything's great, right?
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, we're 6 rums in, so we're not really good judges of...
No, but I mean, I've had I keep, like doing it like wine tasting, like spitting, but I need to go back and check at least 3 of them again.
Yeah.
So, but we should probably shut down the
think that's
podcast before I do that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Listeners, we love hearing from you. CocktailTheology.com is where we are. If you have questions for Father Ricardo, please let us know. We'll pass them along.
That's
right. Or you
right.
can ask him yourself on his Popping Collars podcast. Mm-hmm. Also, we love ideas for cocktails, for things to talk about. And there's no shortage of things to talk about. So please do reach out, CocktailTheology.com.
If you are queer and in the ministry, whether you're out, whatever that means, or not, whatever that means for you, personally, I know we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we
and
would.
What that experience is like for you, and how, if there's anything we can address here, since we have a public forum, that would be useful to you, we would love to know that.
Yes, we would. Thank you for adding that. Till next time, listeners, bye.
Bye.
Funny how the view can change, how life just seems to rearrange itself, no matter what it was. I don't know how it goes, but look, moving on feels pretty good. Moving on feels pretty good.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and hit subscribe wherever you're listening right now. We welcome your comments, questions, and ideas for conversations and for cocktails. Please get in touch with us at our website, cocktailtheology.com. Cocktail Theology is a production of SFS. Our theme song is Moving On Feels Pretty Good, recorded by yours truly, Benton Stokes. You can find my music wherever you stream your favorite artists. Join us next Thursday for another new episode.